Good morning. For all of you that have had an opportunity to meet me, I will still want to talk to you today, but those that I have not had an opportunity to meet, I really want to talk to you to see what I can do to help you as we go through and try to make everything easier for you to do your job. My topic today is going to be about same-sex marriage, the implications and how it affects vital records. The objection is to give you a purpose, a little background, talk about the leadership for Georgia adoption of the law, the changes of our forms, and then a few examples that we need to talk about. Same-sex marriage law affected the vital records area by several different ways, as we will talk about as we move through the presentation. The Scottish ruling on June the 26th, 2015, upheld Oberfeld and Hodges. And basically what the law was saying was that they were going to, the Supreme Court said that they were using the 14th Amendment and due process and equal clauses to include same-sex marriage across the United States. The 2 years to the exact date, they also changed the use of the word spouse to include same-sex marriage, and they're using that in federal law. Before the ruling came down in 2015, the leadership in Georgia decided that they wanted to take a stance on it. The comment was that we're going to follow the letter of the law. The Attorney General made the statement prior to them coming out with the ruling in 2015. And your own Judge Chase Daughtry also came out and said that we were going to follow the law of the land based on how the court actually came out and ruled on it. The situation gave Georgia leadership a position at the table. What they wanted to do is to find out how this was going to affect Georgia as a whole. As the law was passed, what was it going to change? How was it going to make us do our vital records and actually work in Georgia a little bit different? So your leadership took the position and they were at the table, they were discussing it. And another thing I want to do is also thank you all and your leadership for the fact that they also invited vital records to the table. Because they invited us to the table, we had an opportunity to start looking at the changes that we needed to make. How was it going to affect us? And because of the fact that we were at the table and all of the discussions are going on, we're ahead of the game. We're ahead of the states, some of the states that did not have the same-sex marriage in their state. So now we're ready to move forward. We've got all of our ducks in order and we're ready to move forward in changing our forms and changing our position is where we're going to go with that. Marriage nationwide. What this law actually did was equalize the playing field. It legalized same-sex across the country. There were some states that had legalized same-sex marriage, but because of this law, you and I had to recognize the same-sex marriage in other states and recognize same-sex marriages in our state. Let's think about this law and how it affected us in vital records and in your office. It was more than just marriages that was affected by the same sex. Think about the fact that we actually did 4 vital events in Georgia: the birth, the death, the marriage, and divorce. And all of these were affected by same-sex marriage. And I'll talk a little bit more about that as we go through the presentation. One thing I'll say is labels are important, but the code and the regs, they're obvious. They're actually stating what we need to do and how we need to do our processes. Take a look at the chart prior to the Scottish ruling in 2015. The labels used to be husband and wife. Now that label is going to be spouse. Mother and father, you have 4 different opportunities to choose there. Maiden name, and that's going to be an important one that you're going to see a lot going through this presentation. The maiden name has been changed to last name and the birth. All of this chart is telling us is that we're going to be more inclusive of what we do and how we're processing our vital records. The state office process is not going to change. It's including the same-sex marriage is only going to be more inclusive and just include everyone in the vital records and give them the opportunity to put the records in their names. With this change, we had to do some training. We had to go out and train the birth clerks, funeral homes, the county vital records, and the registrars. When the law first came out, we had numerous of calls coming in, asking questions, giving situations about what's going on, how they're going to do this, and what they needed to do. One of the things that we completely put in everyone's mind is eliminate the gender. Just think about the process. You know how to do it. You've been doing it for a while. Just alleviate the fact that it's a different gender. And once everyone started looking at the fact that it might have been a different sex that's getting married or the same sex getting married and just got rid of the gender, everything got a little bit easier for them to process. One thing is the husband, and it's also been changed to spouse. So for the example, the married woman gives birth. The code says that only one person can be enlisted on the birth certificate. It used to say husband and wife, now it says spouse. When I talked about it earlier that we had a seat at the table when the discussions were going on, this led us into an opportunity to start changing our system. This is a picture of a Gathers page. When you go in and you register a birth, when we get ready to print the certificate, we have these choices. We can actually make it mother-father, mother-parent, father-parent, or parent-parent. So that gives us some choices in how we're going to set up the certificates and the labels that we're going to put on the certificates. If you look at this chart, it's a very busy chart, but basically what it's saying is these are the forms that we're changing: marriage forms, divorce forms, and surprisingly, the death form has more changes than any of the forms have, and the birth and fetal death changes that we're making. What I'm going to do is talk about it a little bit more in depth on the next pages. As I pointed out earlier, the maiden last name is going to be replaced by last name at birth for party 1 or party 2. And we're going to add the party 1 and the sex. Right now you have to register the sex of the individuals that are getting married. That's a change from what you have been doing in the past. So we're going to get the sex for party 1 and party 2 just for statistical information. And we're going to add the party 1 last name on the forms also. For birth registration, the mother's name is going to be changed to birth mother or parent 1, and for father it's going to be father or parent 2. We're going to add new fields where we're adding the field that we talked about is the sex is included on there, which is something that we wasn't doing at first. And as I said earlier, death registration, I actually have 2 pages of changes for that one. The sex of the spouse is a new field that's being added. And we're going to remove that text that used to say if wife give maiden name, just for the marital section. And we're going to change the spouse last name. As I said, you're going to see that on pretty much all of the changes. The last name is going to be changed to spouse last name at birth. The sex field is going to be added in for decedent, either father 1 or parent 1. Decedent's mother name is going to be changed to decedent's mother. Can a same-sex couple that was married in 2014 add their spouse to a birth certificate if the baby was born in 2016. The next example question: what would you do if a same-sex couple wishes to make a correction to a birth record if the infant was born within the last year? Same question, but what if they were born after the first year? Next question: how can an unmarried same-sex couple add the second parent to the birth certificate?